friends, I am Nisha Mohata and I am back here with my mother. Let us all stay indoors and let's continue to learn chess. So mom, what did we learn in the last few sessions?
Check,
And
attacking,
not attacking, you mean capture?
capture, yes.
Capture. Yes, so we learned check and capture and today we will learn the most important thing in the game of chess, and that is checkmate. Now mom, can you tell me what is the aim of the game of chess? What do we need to do in chess?
Checkmate.
Yes, we need to checkmate our opponents.
Opponents.
Yes, right. So today we will see what is checkmate, how is checkmate done. So let me first try to keep a position where, say, black has a king here, pawns here, white has a king here, white has a rook here. So just a normal position. It's not, just suppose this is a position. Can you give a check in this position, mom? How? Just a check.
Rook put in
On
C8.
rook on c8. So rook on c8 is a check. Now what can black do if you give this check? Where can, what can black do to run away or cover up this check?
S7.
The king goes
Goes
to
to S7.
h7. So mom says if white gives a check to the black king on g8, the black king runs away to h7 and it's safe here, right?
Yes.
So this is a case of the king running away when in check,
Yes.
right? Now, let's change the position a little and suppose in the start position, the black king is here, the black pawn is here, and white rook is here, and we will, let me give it a start position. Mom, what happens now? If you are white, can you give a check now?
C8.
Which piece?
Rook.
Rook on
Put
c8.
C8.
Yes.
Give
So
it.
rook c8 check. And what can black do now? Is there any way?
Checkmate.
Checkmate. Okay. So checkmate means when the king
Not
is in...
going other.
Yes,
Right.
yes. So the king is in check. So this rook here is checking the king, and
No, please.
the king has nowhere to go. The king cannot go to h8 because the rook is there. The king cannot go to f8 because the rook is still there.
Yes.
And the black pawns on f7, g7 and h7
H7.
are not allowing the black king to run away. And we know that a king can only take small steps at a time. So these were the only squares it had, f7, g7, h7, but they are stopped by the black's pawn. So a situation when opponent's king is in check, I mean it can be our own king also. So a situation where a king is in check and it does not have a square to run to, it does not have a move to capture the piece which is giving the check, or it does not have another piece to come in between the check. That situation is called checkmate. That means black has lost the game, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's try to understand checkmate with different pieces. This was checkmate with a rook, right?
Yes.
So let me try to keep another position. Say black's king is here, say white's king is here, black has a pawn somewhere here, and white has a queen on, say, c5. Mom, if this is white to play, can you find a checkmate in one move here? There are a lot of checks, but with check will not give black's king anywhere to go to. Let's
D4.
d4. Okay, this is a check. If you give a check from here,
Yes.
is this king let me just
Move on.
this. Yeah, so if you play queen d4 check, let's try. If you play a queen d4 check, is it a checkmate?
No.
Where will the black king go to?
G8.
G8. So this is a square empty for the king. It's not a checkmate. It's only a check, right?
Yes.
So let's find a check from where the black king cannot run away. So can you first show the different checks available with the queen? One you said is d4.
Yes.
Can you find other?
C8.
C8 is another square. Which other squares are available for the check?
Yes. F8.
F8. And which of these three is a checkmate? There are three checks. Which?
F8.
F8. Okay, so you are saying queen on F8 is a checkmate, right?
Yes.
Because this square is not available to the king because this queen is controlling.
Yes.
This square is not available because this queen is controlling.
Yes.
This queen is giving a check to the king on H8 and H7 is blocked by black's own pawn,
Yes.
right? So this is an example of a checkmate. When the opponent's king is in a check, it does not have a square to run to and there is no piece which comes in between the check and there's no piece which can capture the queen on F8, right?
Yes.
So this is a situation of checkmate with a queen. Let's try some other pieces. Checkmate with other pieces. Okay, let's keep a king on, say, G1. I keep black's king on 8. Say I have a pawn here, a rook here, a bishop here, and you have a knight here. And this position is white to play. Mom, can you find a mate in one in this position with the knight? I mean, with this knight on d5, which are the checks possible? First tell me.
B6.
B6 is a check, yes. Which other square can you give a check from? Is there any other?
C7.
Yes, c7. Now, let's try to first think what happens in case of knight b6 check. Is it a mate if you give a knight b6 check? Let's try. Let's try knight b6 check. Now, what happens? Is it a mate or is it's not a mate?
Mate.
It's a mate?
Yes.
Black's king cannot move. But can black capture the knight somehow? Can
Yes.
black
Rook.
rook?
With rook, knight.
Black captures the knight, yes?
Yes.
Is there any other piece which can also capture the knight? Let me remove the arrow.
Pawn.
The pawn can
By
also
pawn.
the pawn can also capture the knight, right?
Yes.
So this is not a checkmate because the knight which is actually checking the black king can be captured by black's pieces, right?
Yes.
So this is not a checkmate. Let's come back. So which other check did you find? You said there's a check here and
C7.
C7. Now let's try the other check. So let's try knight C7. Is this a mate?
Yes.
This is a mate, right? The king is in a check 1, 2, 2.5 and there is no piece which can capture the knight, right? The king cannot go to B7 because the bishop controls the square on B7, right?
Yes.
So here we see that in this position the check from B6 was not leading to a checkmate. This was not leading to a checkmate because black could capture here, but the check on C7 leads to a checkmate because black cannot capture the knight and the king has no square to run away to.
Yes.
King cannot go to B8 because the rook is there. King cannot go to A7 because
Pawn is there.
and king cannot go to B7 because
Bishop.
the white's bishop is controlling that square, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now, let's see some other forms of checkmate. Let's see a checkmate with let me keep a black pawn here, black king here. Okay, and mom, this position is white to play. Can you do checkmate in one with the help of a pawn?
B6 pawn go to B7.
Yes, b6 pawn goes to b7. Is this a checkmate?
Yes.
Yes, it's a checkmate. The pawn is attacking the king. The king cannot go to b8 square because this pawn is controlling. The king cannot go to d8 square because this pawn is controlling. Very important question. Why can't the king come to d7 square? Who is controlling?
D7.
Who is controlling the d7 square?
King.
King. Who's king?
White king.
Yes, the white king is controlling the d7 square. So black king cannot come here. So very important thing to understand about the movement of a king. Two kings cannot come next to, let me remove these pawns to make it actually a little bit easier. So let me just set up a position once more, somewhere here, and let's put it here. I'll show that with an example, what I was trying to explain with the previous one. Let me try to show it with the help of an example. So suppose here, mom, can you show a mate with a rook? A check with a rook?
G8.
Rook G8. So white gives rook G8 and it's a mate, right? Yes. So the reason is the king cannot come to B8 because who is controlling? The rook is controlling. The king cannot go to D8 because rook is controlling. Now the question comes about D squares. This is what I was...
White king is there.
Yes. Now this is the rule which I wanted to explain. So in the game of chess, two kings cannot come next to each other. The white king cannot go to b7 because the black king is there.
Black king is not good.
Yes, the white king cannot go to c7 because black king is there. And I mean same with both the kings. Neither of the kings can go to b7, c7, d7 because the kings cannot come next to each other in the game of chess. As I said, the king cannot go to a square controlled by opponent's piece. So here the b7 square is controlled by the white king and the black king. So neither of them can go to that square. It's fire for both of them. Similarly, same with the c7 square and the d7 square. So none of the kings can come next to each other. They cannot come to b7, c7, d7 squares, right? So they cannot step in a square controlled by the opponent's king. So when they're standing face to face, they cannot come next to each other, right? Now, let me just try to explain this further with the help of an example. So let me try to put this king here, and this rook somewhere here. And mom, can you show one check with the rook in this position?
Go to B8.
B8. Rook B8 is a check. Is it a checkmate?
No.
It's not a checkmate because the king is going to which square? Can the king come here? Can the king... Okay, which...
H7.
H7. The king can go to H7 and it's not a mate. Now, why can't the black king come to G7?
Because white king is there.
White king is controlling the square. The king cannot come here. And why can't the black king... Sorry, let me remove this. Too many arrows. Let me just remove all of them. Okay, the black king cannot come to G7 because the white king is there. The black king cannot come to F7 also because the white king is controlling the same square. So, but the king can go to H7 because this square was not controlled by the white king.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Okay, very good. Now, let's try Some more forms of checkmate. Let me keep this here. Let me keep this here. And let me keep a white queen somewhere here. Mom, can you show a checkmate in one move with the queen, obviously?
E8. Queen go to E8.
If queen goes to E8, is it a checkmate? Or does the black king have a square right now?
Black king come to H7.
Yes, the black king can come to H7 and it's not a checkmate, right? So, similarly, if you give a check from D8, the same thing happens. The king goes to H7, it's not a checkmate. Now you will have to take the help of the king on F6. Now, how can you give a checkmate with the help of the king on F6? The king has to support the queen. That's the clue for this position. How is it possible to give a check with the queen with the support of the white king on F6?
White king.
Yes.
White queen put in G7.
Yes, very good. So you can put a queen on G7 and is it a checkmate?
Yes.
It's a checkmate. The point is that the black king, as I said earlier, cannot come to G7 because the white king is controlling the square. So when a queen with the support of the king comes to G7, the black king is not able to capture the queen.
Yes.
The black king cannot go to F8 because the queen is controlling. The black king cannot go to H8 because the queen is controlling. And same with H7 because the queen is controlling. And it's in check
F7.
on G8. And F7 is controlled both by the queen and by the king. And very important is the king cannot capture the queen as the white king is supporting the queen. To explain further, let me just show an example of, say, a position. I have my king here and black has a king here. Black has a queen, white has a queen here on E7. In this position, if I give this check, is it a checkmate?
No.
It's not a checkmate. What can black do in this situation?
चेकमेट तो हो जाएगा.
वही क्वेश्चन है, is it a checkmate or it's not a checkmate? We saw last time the white king was on F6 and this time the white king is on G5. What is the difference?
King is away from queen.
The white king is away from queen, which means the queen on G7 does not have protection. So what does that mean? What can black play here? Is it a mate or it's not a mate? Is this queen on G7 supported by any piece?
No.
So can black capture it?
Yes.
Black can capture it, right? So the point is, in this situation, the queen on G7 was not supported, so it was not a checkmate, right?
Yes.
And compared to the last position, you know, in the last position, the king was on F6. The king was here, so it was supporting the queen.
Yes.
But here, the king is not supporting the queen and black can simply take it. It's not a checkmate. I showed this position to explain the difference between when it's a checkmate and when the piece which is giving a check can be captured, right?
Yes.
This is clear?
Yes.
Okay, let me give you another example of say checkmate with a bishop. So let me put this king here. Let me put this pawn here. Let me put another black pawn somewhere here. Let me put a king here. Knight controlling d7. And a bishop here. So I assume the last move of black could be king 8 or h6. Now white to play in this position. Can you give a checkmate in one with the bishop? You need to give a checkmate with the help of this bishop. How is it possible? From where can you give a check?
f3.
F3. And is it a checkmate?
No.
Why? Where can the black king go?
b8.
Can the black king go to b8?
No, because rook is there.
Which rook?
Sorry, knight is there.
Yes, the knight on d7 is controlling the b8 square 1, 2, 2.5. So the king cannot go to b8, the king cannot go to b7 because the king on a6 and also the bishop on b7 is controlling the same square. So is it checkmate, right? Let me remove all the arrows, it becomes easier. It's a checkmate or not?
Yes.
Yes,
Checkmate.
it's a checkmate with the bishop. The bishop is attacking the king. The king has no square to run to, and there is nothing, no other piece which can capture the bishop. So it's a situation of checkmate,
Checkmate.
right?
Yes.
Okay, one last example before I finish. So just let me put a rook here, knight here, and a king here. Mom, can you give a checkmate in one move?
With the help of
There's only one piece for white.
knight.
Yes. So with the help of this knight on e5, can you find a checkmate in one move?
Knight put in f7.
Yes, knight on f7. Is it a mate?
Yes.
It's-
no
it's-
place king.
Yes. The knight gives a check to the king. The king has nowhere to run. All the squares next to the king are blocked by its own pieces, right?
Yes.
So this is a situation of a mate with a knight, where a lone knight is able to mate the king, but it is because the opponent's pieces are helping white, right? So these are basic checkmate positions. To improve further, one needs to do one needs to solve a lot of positions. For that you need practice. Same with mom, like you can definitely spot, but you need practice to spot it faster and to be able to spot it more accurately. I would suggest there are a couple of websites, some apps which have these kind of mate in one positions. A lot of practice is required till we are able to spot it in a few seconds. So you need this practice, and you need to master the art of checkmate, because it is the most important theme in chess, because we need to checkmate the opponent's king, right? And one thing before I end, I want to add that if one side gets checkmated, it does not matter how many pieces he has on the chessboard. So point is, if the king is checkmated, even if the opponent has a lot of pieces, it does not matter. If the king is checkmated, the game is over, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's end on this note that we need more practice on checkmates, and we need to continue learning from different websites, different sources available in the internet. In the phone, there are certain apps I checked and I found they're quite useful. So you need to look for mate in one positions. So look for mate in one in chess, and you can Google it, you can see an app, you can see in websites, and you need practice. Once you get used to it, you can go to the next step, right mom?
Okay.
Okay, on this note, let's end the session today.